We are live in the clubhouse now.
Okay, let's try this again. Let's call this meeting to order. Half an hour late, we apologize. Again, technical issues, unforeseen. The issues were on Zoom issues, for the people that are currently on Zoom, okay? Okay, this is an executive, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay, okay, we have to hold off for a second. We have to get our attorney online as well. He's going to join us via Zoom. Do we have everything now? Everybody on Zoom? Okay, let's continue here with the agenda. The board met briefly this afternoon for an executive session. We did not vote on any proposals, service agreements, or anything. We also, no action was taken during the December 12th meeting. We are here because of this recall petition. In case somebody doesn't know, Brad Epstein is on Zoom and he is the Nepenthe HOA's attorney. So we have received that recall petition, and I would like to ask our attorney, Brad, I would like to ask you regarding this recall petition, do you see any legal accusations that have any merit?
Right. So let me say that when the board got the petition, that as their fiduciary duty and me looking out for the association, we wanted to first see if there's any legal issues that we need to address right away. A recall is very serious. It costs the association a lot of money. Nowadays, it takes about half a year to get done. And so they wanted to look at that first. The legal issue that was raised in the petition, at least on some of the petitions, there's a couple of them that kind of varied, and it was again, we're talking about a recall of member at large Christina George, and so there was an allegation there in the petition. The petitioners were accusing her of signing contracts on behalf of the association. And the argument was basically it's she has demonstrated, this is the accusation in it. So we got to first look at the question, and then I'll give you my answer. But my bottom line is yeah, let me first give you my answer, then I'll give you the question, then I'll explain where I came from. So yes, the board may delegate authority to Christina as a director at large to sign contracts on behalf of the association. They may do that. A director at large can sign contracts on behalf of an association when they're delegated the authority. So the accusation was a violation of the bylaws. Christina George has demonstrated a consistent disregard of the bylaws of the association by signing contracts on behalf of the association. She has no authority to sign an agreement on behalf of Nepenthe. As a director, she has to act in concert with the board and cannot act alone. She is not an officer and has no administrative duties under the bylaws. While the board may delegate authority to association staff, it may not delegate authority to execute contracts. Parentheses, Nepenthe bylaws, Article 6, Section 6.8, close parentheses. It cannot delegate authority to the member at large to sign contracts. So what we didn't want everyone going away thinking was that that Ms. George was out on her own, not acting. She has acted in concert with the board, and so the legal issue is whether the board may delegate authority to her, Christina George, as a director at large, to sign contracts on behalf of the association. And so what you have is the petitioners cite the bylaws at section 6.8. So you all have that. And it says that the board may authorize any officers to enter into any contract in the name of or on behalf of the association, pursuant to the board's authority to enter into a contract set forth in the CC&Rs. Excuse me. Unless expressly authorized by resolution of the board, no officer shall have any power or authority to bind the association by any contract or agreement, or pledge the credit of the association, or to render the association liable for any purpose on any account. So that's about trying to make sure that no officers of the association are going out on their own signing contracts that the board did not approve, and that's not happening here. The Corporation Code, California Corporation Code, and you could make note of this and you could look at it yourself. It is Corporation Code section 7210, Corporation Code 7210. And it provides that the board, quote, the board may delegate the management of the activities of the corporation to any person or persons, management company, or committee, however composed, etc. And so what boards do routinely is they will go ahead and approve contracts, and then a board member can go ahead and, whether it be an officer or not, can go ahead and sign on behalf of the association. The key here, board members, is that the authority for a board member to sign a contract comes second. First is that the board approves the contract. And so my understanding is that has occurred here. So we looked at that particular legal issue, and in some, the board may indeed delegate authority to Christina George as a director at large to sign contracts on behalf of the association. Is that sufficient, Mr. President?
For me, it is.
Yeah.
Any questions from the board?
Well, I want to just make sure it's really clear that first, if something is proposed, the board meets, the board has to have at least 3 votes saying, yes, we do that. And then usually the people who sign that are those associated with that type of work, but not always. And then once that's signed, the office prepares a work order to get the work done. And I think that's what you're saying, that the law says is an appropriate way to handle these documents. Is that correct?
You are correct.
Bill, any questions? So the other question that I have again for you, Brad, is can you explain the member at large position.
Yeah, in essence, what you have is you only have so many officerships. The association is governed by not just the governing documents and not just the Davis-Sterling Act, but also the California Corporation Code. It's a corporation run by board of directors. And so they are required, all community associations, including Nepenthe, they are required to have a CEO/president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer. Well, that leaves a position open with no officership. And sometimes two, sometimes a secretary will take the treasurer's job. Now you do it, and in essence, it's a little archaic in that associations nowadays have professional management companies that essentially take the laboring oar with respect to the various duties, especially when it comes to secretarial at an association is typically the management company. Nevertheless, by law, there needs to be those officerships. And so the board of every board of directors has the same vote. It does, as a board member. It doesn't matter whether you're the president or the vice president or a director at large. They all have the same power as a board member. They don't have any more authority unless, of course, like we just talked about, they were delegated some authority. And your association is lucky enough to have committees and strong committees in liaisons, board member liaisons. So they, in essence, will have particular roles that are really more important than the officerships, whether you're treasurer, secretary, whatever. What's important is what you have done is, and it's more effective, is you have delegated authority for particular board members to be a liaison for the various committees and your strong committees, finance, your insurance one, architectural, landscaping, etc. Marcus, does that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you. So,
Marcus, this is Stephen Jacobs. May I ask a question of the lawyer?
hold off, Stephen. We're gonna get to the homeowner forum
Okay.
later on. I appreciate it. Thank you. Any questions from the board for Brad?
No question.
So the next step would be whether we want to move forward with that recall, or if we want to not move forward. I guess that's the question.
Brad? Go
Oh,
ahead.
yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure it was directed to me. Yes, that's exactly the question. It's the threshold issue is whether the board wants to go ahead and proceed with the recall election. And 99.9% of associations, I'm going to let you know, do go ahead and proceed with it. Otherwise, if the theory is that if the board doesn't go ahead and proceed with the recall election, then an owner can, or the owner can go to court and get the court to go ahead and proceed. And so that gets expensive, and it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, it's the association. And so I'm going to give you my recommendation. I recommend that the board does go ahead and proceeds with the recall election.
Procedurally, do we have sufficient qualified signatures for the recall?
Is that a question to me?
It's to Dusty. I think you've got have you validated all the signatures?
So how many? So we had how many signatures were on there? We had 38 signatures on that petition. 5 of them are invalid. So that leaves us with 33 signatures.
So we have sufficient signatures for the recall.
We do.
Brad, in your estimation, this is a valid recall petition?
Yes, I looked at it and yes, indeed.
Okay, very good. I move, we move forward with accepting the recall and acting accordingly.
I'll second that.
Okay. Dusty? Okay. I'm in favor.
Aye.
So the next step would be, since we are going to be moving forward with that recall, set the dates, correct?
Correct?
So let's set the date. I looked at the agenda and I would like to set the date for May 3rd.
Well, we're legally required to set it within so many days.
That
so
is
that's what we're
correct.
within.
That is correct. That is within 150 days. So May 3rd will be then the recall election.
Ballot count.
Can I do the next resolution? Can I just put-
Oh, have at it, please.
But I don't have their names.
She-
Okay, the board approves the following individuals. I'm proposing this resolution that we approve the following individuals to serve as inspectors of election for the recall election, but I don't remember the names. What are they?
We have 3 inspectors of election, proposed inspectors of election: Diane Vizard, Yvonne Del Biagio, and Jolene Heck.
And-
I second that.
Okay, I'm in favor of that. Okay. Then the other proposed actions,
We don't have any.
we don't have any. And now I guess the next step will be the homeowner forum. How about if we have the people first on Zoom? Stephen, you were first. How about that? You're muted, Stephen.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this moment of opportunity. Justin, now the homeowners have the right to speak, but you've already voted that the recall is taking place. So anything that's said, supporting it or in opposition to it, is just to express our voices because the decision's been made for May 3rd. Am I correct in that?
That is correct, yes.
So nothing can take place to overturn that decision of May 3rd. That's set legally now.
Well, they made the motion, Stephen, and the motion passed. They're still in session, right? So if you
Right.
brought up something like, if you brought up something so significant that it would cause someone to change their mind, they still
Okay.
can do that.
Okay, so I have a legal question. It's not, it's just to elucidate this. In other recalls, there's usually been a sense that somebody has committed a fraud or a crime committed, such as bribery or embezzlement. Brad, is there any accusation against this executive board member that falls into that category?
I do not believe so. You've all seen the petition. I did not see anything about embezzlement or a crime.
Okay. Let me just say briefly that I oppose the recall and respectfully request to let our elected board members do their job, knowing that any dissatisfaction expressed by the president should be taken seriously as an opportunity for us to communicate better about the issues that affect us, whether you're for the recall or against the recall, of better to give us the opportunity to express our concerns about decisions that are made. I won't go in, but into detail as I prepare, but I will say that I will stand against, my wife and I will stand against the recall. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Stephen. Anybody else on Zoom? Okay, nobody on Zoom at this point. How about, okay, Nancy, how about you?
I'm Nancy Arndorfer. I've lived here for 41 years. I do oppose the recall. I think it's unfortunate that all the expense that's going to occur is unnecessary. It's too bad it's having to happen this way. I'm very curious to know how many of those folks who signed the petition have attended Grounds Committee and Finance Committee meetings and how often they've done that. That's it.
Thank you, Nancy. Linda, how about you?
Those are like the deepest seats. So I'm opposed to the recall too, but apparently that is not going to make any difference. But I do want to speak to the fact that Christina, George, and I have worked together for a long time. My name is Linda Cook. I live at 1378 Commons, and I've lived here for 15 years this month. So I met Christina when I got involved with committees. And after that, we were both chairpersons of committees, and then we were on the board together for 5 years. So she is a friend to me, but I also have the utmost respect for her. And I don't think you would find anybody else in this room or even among our neighbors who has the same rigor, the same professionalism, the same caring about our community. Christina spends hours and hours. There was a time when she and I spent 2.5 months in the management office here because we had no manager. And First Services was having trouble finding someone. We had a hard time finding a candidate. At that point, with the oversight of First Services, we came in daily to the office. And I'll tell you, the pay was horrible because we didn't get any pay. And she is a busy person, but I just have the utmost respect for her. And I'm really saddened that we are recalling such a wonderful board member and a wonderful community member. Let me see if there's anything I'm forgetting. I consider Christina to be a friend who will always be respected for her leadership and her professionalism. And I urge you all to vote no on the recall. And I am so sad. It is going to cost us a great deal of money to have this additional election. So I want you to think very carefully when you vote what your thoughts are. So thank you, Christina. Thank you, board members, for everything you've done. And there's a hand over there, but I don't think I should be answering any questions, right?
Thank you, Linda. Greg?
My wife is not listening, so she said if I lost my temper, I needed to be stopped. So Christina, just go like this, all right? I was a board member here, and I've listened to the same stuff after I was no longer a board member. There are people in this room who lied about my past to get me off the board. I have a master's degree in government from Sac State and a BA from Stanford University in government, public administration. What this is, we used to actually study these kinds of HOAs as part of what governance is all about. I sit here and watch how we're going to spend all this money to recall when the real problem in terms of what's growing outside is not what's the little things that changed around your house. It's those trees that last year destroyed over 20 houses, didn't kill anybody. It almost killed me. Bill can attest to that. It was the tree that fell and almost killed me was in front of his house. There's where the money's going to be. If we have a tree that falls on somebody and kills somebody, we're going to get sued that you can't believe because it costs us too much. If you think it costs too much, get the hell out of here.
Thank you, Greg. Greg Beal. Susan?
Is the presumptive GOP frontrunner using language that is invoking fascism and Nazism?
Thank you. I was wondering what that was. I'm Susan Timmer. Sorry?
Nothing, go ahead.
Yeah, gotcha. And I live at 1431 Commons. I've lived here since 96. It's so long ago that I can't even do the math anymore. I know that you've had to vote for this recall because you don't want to be accused of protecting each other. But I want to say a couple of things. One, in defense of Christina, Christina is an incredibly competent board member. She has a lot of experience. She knows grounds. She works hard. And it's incredible that this recall has focused on her. I mean, all of you all work really hard, and especially now with the transition in management. But it's a crazy move. And it's appalling that the group of people behind this is using this kind of a strategy to divide us as a community and throw dissension among our ranks when we should really be working together to accomplish the things that need to be done. This is a really busy, thriving community with a lot of amazing people living here and a lot of energy, apparently, and why we can't all work together to make it a better place is beyond me. We've lost in the course of this recall attempt a lack of trust in each other, and we need to kind of desperately work to get that back. The people that we've elected work hard on our behalf and their own behalf. I mean, let's not forget that they also live here and they have to pay dues just the same way as all of us do. And I hope that even though we have to go through this, what I hope is a charade, because it'll be a great loss to our whole community if Christina is actually elected off the board, that I hope that we can still start to work together towards building something more cohesive, more collaborative, and find our way forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Joan?
I'm Joan Barrett. I live at 1100 Dunbarton. I just would like to know if somebody has done the numbers to see how much this expensive thing is going to cost us. It's so weird that people are supposed to be saving us money are really going to cost us money. So I find that just an odd dichotomy. So that was it. Just my statement. I'm opposed to the recall.
Thank you, Joan. Let's start in the back. Joan, again, let's keep going with the Jones.
Good afternoon. This is Ludicrous. First of all, our board is exceptional. These people, the majority of these people have major corporate experience, finance, personnel, organization. Very bright, very competent, particularly Christina George. Secondly, we are, this whole piece is really destructive to our association, and we should be working together. And we have that ability. Our board is not self-serving. Our board is for the association. They want to do what's the right thing for the association, as opposed to other organizations or another group. And it's very important that we keep in mind that this board is working for us. I've got to introduce myself. Joan Trotta. I've been here 47 years, 310 Elmhurst Circle. And I was on the board 2 times, 4 years. And I'm very proud of this board. I'm very proud of what we do. The grounds committee is on which I serve at this point with Christina George as chair, is not chair, but is really is on, is doing an excellent job. Christina can name plants and situations as we sit there and go through meetings. That really amazes me. Her long-term memory is remarkable. So I'm very proud of the board. I appreciate everything that you do. And I'm sure that we will all come to that conclusion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joan.
Marcus, this is Brad Epstein. I'm going to have to leave the meeting, but I'll, of course, look at the recording. But before I go, yeah, just let me know. You can ping me if something comes up at the meeting, and I'll leave my other meeting.
Gotcha. I appreciate it. Thank you for chiming in here.
My pleasure.
You, Brad. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Mary?
Hi, Mary Gray. I just have a procedural question on this recall. So you said May 3rd, is that the ballots go out before that and they're counted on May 3rd? Or can you let me know more specifically what exactly is going on?
We will let the community know exactly regarding the exact dates. Well, that's correct. The May 3rd will be the day of counting. When they're gonna go out, we do not know, because we did not know whether we want to move forward or not. So, but we had to count 150 days, and then we kind of count backwards. Ashley.
Ashley Tongaros, I'm the sponsor of the recall. So, just to add to Brad's comments, executives, I would cite section 5.7, that executive session is really only for the purpose of discussing litigation matters relating to the formation or performance of contracts. So without going further, basically, there was never such a delegation. He also mentioned delegation. So I would bring those questions back to Brad. I also found it interesting that he did not oppose my comments around fiduciary duty. Those are integral for us to have a good board. There are quite a few things that happened, prior, that were very disturbing, but fiduciary duty, basically, if you breach that, you are personally liable if something were to happen here. So it is very serious. So was it fraud? No. Was it embezzlement? No. But breach of fiduciary duty, you can do your own investigation on that, but it is very serious, and insurance does not back you up. Lastly, I know there's been some complaints about the expense. So we are 17.6% over. As a board member, I was continually given proposals where they, frequently leveraged one small homeowner issue, and then they became a larger issue. Like over here, over by the tennis courts, there was a little drainage issue. Suddenly that became $63,000 that, this poor homeowner, unless we do this, they're going to have all this water. So 15,000, that's the word that's going out there, the estimate, that probably is about right. but compared to being over 200,000 over budget, I'd say it's small. And if you back out the IVP project, IVB, whatever it was, that was 721,000. If I back those numbers out, we're over $944,000 over. No one is tracking the money. They admit that, they say things like, it's just a guideline. Well, we should be treating our reserve spending seriously. And, until that happens, unfortunately, this is a first step in seeing changes. I have confidence that the other people, that maybe some better accounting will take place in the future. But I would definitely go back to Brad and ask him about, section 5.7. Anyway, close with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. John Trotter.
John Trotter, 310 Elmhurst. So the attorney announced that the board has the decision whether or not to go ahead with a recall. He also advised us that there's no basis for the recall. So my proposal is to rescind your vote for the recall and allow the signers of the recall petition to find their own attorneys to fight the board, because we're going to spend money anyway with a recall. So let's see how far they want to go in spending their own money for the recall.
Thank you, John. Will?
Will Bazard. Is this tall enough to, everybody can hear me? Okay. I had the experience of serving on the board with Christina. I've spent total 8 years on the board. Christina did not graduate valedictorian from charm school. She can be abrupt and she can be very assertive. She's also, nobody has worked harder for Nepenthe since I've been here, other than a prior resident who's no longer with us. But nobody else has ever worked as hard, put in as much time, committed themselves as much to the board and to the association, the community, as she has. So I would also, I don't know what you're planning on timing with the May, but we've got a May election. Is there any way to integrate at least the recall and the election so that we don't have to send these notices out twice, pay the postage twice, et cetera?
Unfortunately not. That's, we discussed it with our attorney and they have to be separate.
Oh, okay.
We don't know. I heard what are the costs. So the true costs, Dusty is looking into it.
Without knowing what our recall ballot package is going to look like, we have an estimation of how many pages are going to be included in that ballot mailing, but without having that information and then being able to times, it by 590 homes to figure out the mailing cost, as far as other little, expenses that are not little, but ink.
It's a third party.
Printing, it's a third party mailing company that conducts this mailing for us. It's being it's being looked into.
John Baker over here.
Thank you, Marcus. John Baker, live in Swarthmore Drive. I'd like to address my comments not to the board, but also to the rest of the people in this room. This is a really crazy idea. To what extent? I mean, what is this going to accomplish? We're all concerned about landscaping expenses. Nobody wants to spend more money than they need. But to go through this and perhaps 3 elections between now and May makes absolutely no sense at all. I will say that the proponents of this recall have made some allegations that frankly are not true. And I'll tell you, the reason we lost Betsy was because of this cabal of people who are proposing this. I watched Betsy lose her will to work here weekend and day after day. She eventually said, screw it, I'm out of here. I can't put up with this shit. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, last call here. No.
Don Lance, Subtle 1010 Dunbarton Circle. I promised myself. It's right up there. Is it? Okay. Don Lance, Subtle 1010 Dunbarton Circle. I promised myself I wasn't going to say anything. The recall is a result, I think, of the finances. And for one, I've spoken at the last 2 board meetings saying we've got to get a better handle on what we're spending. And I think that we need to cut back. It needs to be looked at and slowed down, and focusing on the grounds and what the storm of a year ago cost us. I don't know what that final summary was, but we're going from a reserve of 60+%. First Service recommends 70% reserve. We're going down to 48% reserve for 2024. And if you look at the Browning forecasts, they're going down into the 30s. This, I'll use the word insolvency, starts to worry me. I don't know whether that's the right word to use or not, or how low those reserves can get compared to our spending. And I'm really just talking about the reserve budget. I've been told, well, you just don't understand accounting. Granted, I tell the story about old friends at work said, you know just enough about accounting to be dangerous. And, but I do know management. And when I see the reserve funding getting lower and lower, something's got to be done about that, whether it's a recall. Also, when's the next election for board members? May. And so you're putting off the recall until May. That just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. There's something else going on there. But anyways, thank you very much, folks.
Thank you, Don.
I'm short. My name's Diane Shaw. I live at 903 Elmhurst Circle. And I don't understand what's going on here. I mean, this is really crazy, this recall. There was no intent from what I can see. What is it? It's got to be some sort of political trend to go forward with something, spend everybody's money, and know that the result is going to be nothing. The attorney said that there's no legal basis for this. The only reason the board has agreed to do this is they feel, well, they have the 33 votes and they have to go ahead and do it. Otherwise, there's liability. But let's be logical. You know, I don't see any intent or anything that is legally incorrect here. It's just slap on the wrist. Let's go forward and stop spending so much money. Let's be more clear about what needs to be taken care of. And I am against this recall. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Anybody else? Last call there.
Yep. Marcus,
Pam.
this is Ricardo Pineda. I'm online. I wasn't able to.
Hold on a second, Ricardo.
Fine.
Okay, you'll be next.
It's fine.
Thank you guys for what you all do and contribute to this community. I'm Pamela DiMaggio, 1275 Vanderbilt Way. And I'm very saddened by this effort. This community has been wonderful. And when I came here many years ago, I just embraced the people and they embraced me, and I feel like it's home and family. And I feel like this is a divorce. I think there's better ways to handle this situation. And I know I see Christina out with her clipboard every day, looking for things that are not working right and to make it better. And please, guys, let's do better.
Thank you, Pam. Okay, Ricardo, you.
All right. Thank you, Marcus. Ricardo Pineda, 1013 Dunbarton Circle. I just want to express my appreciation to the board and all the work by the committees. I don't support the recall, but if it's in the bylaws, I think we need to stick with the rules that are on the books. And as we move forward, since a lot of the controversy relates around the increasing cost of maintaining landscaping, that there be a little bit more transparency in communicating, what the projects are. I know there potentially the descriptions are buried in the agenda packages, but those agenda packages, I remember I printed one out once and it was very, very long. So we just need to communicate a little bit better and find ways to, be the most efficient possible. I know there's a lot of expenses related to the siting, the vegetation was impacted by the siting work and the windstorm, and prices are going up. And then we've got that time bomb of Assembly Bill 1572 and the potable water and the turf that is going to be coming along unless some changes. So more communication, but I appreciate all the work of the board and I don't support the recall. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo. Jerry?
Green light.
Is it green?
Jerry Gelfand. That one works. 406 Elmhurst Circle. And I really didn't plan on saying anything, but I'm a real advocate of keep it simple. And we're at a point where the attorney, who is already costing us money, has said there isn't legal reason to do a recall. There's great concern about the cost and of finances. Step one, let's not do the recall and save that money for starters. That would be heading in the right direction, I think, because at this point, I don't think we have a good reason to do a recall and to go forward with this. That's all. Keep it simple.
Thank you, Jerry. Last call. All right. That's it. Okay, what's next step? Next board meeting. It's got to be next year. January 3rd. With this, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much for everybody for coming in this bad weather. It's appreciated. Thank you.